Okay, so um, we're going to talk about citizenship and both Italian citizenship and also European citizenship and also global citizenship, being a citizen of the world. Um, Citizenship is really important. Uh, it should be the apex of education because we are in education developing citizens, and obviously the whole objective is to create a citizen that can really participate, be productive, contribute to the values and pull in the right direction with all the other citizens. That's the whole point of education. Now, citizenship, really we need to understand who we are as Italians and as Europeans. So we're going to study the Italian law, the European law, the constitution, etc. And also we've got to understand the environment we live in. So, they understand the values, maybe understand the diritti umani, um, understand the environment we live in, the globalization, the sustainable growth, the economy. Got to judge politicians, which means we've got to understand the economy, doesn't it? We've got to understand immigration. It's a very important subject now and will be going forwards, because going forwards, you're going to have more and more immigration with the climate change and the disruption in the world economy that probably AI will produce and maybe wars will produce. We've got to understand wars and how to achieve our aims, our objectives, which is peace and sustainable growth. Those are universal objectives, and those are universal also Italian objectives and European objectives. So how do we get there? And then we've got to understand the environment we're entering as citizens. We are going into an environment of continuous change, and we need certain characteristics for that. We're going to understand, emotional intelligence, lifelong learning, learning to learn, and why all these are necessary, and what is the best orientation for a student going forwards. I think really where we are going, who we are, the environment we live in, really in citizenship. We've really got to understand these aspects to it. Now, we've got two parts to citizenship. You've got the legal status. These are the rights and responsibilities we have. We can see, in the Constitution, all about rights and responsibilities. And then you've got the community identity, which is more about having a sense of belonging. What makes identity? It's values. What things do we value? We need to share those values to build a common identity and build a sense of belonging. So the rights and responsibilities should help us become individuals and act individually. But also we've got to build this common identity. So we always need that sense of belonging to a community. So there you have the solidarity part. Now, as a legal status, we've got these rights and responsibilities. So think about it. We've got the right and duty to work. That's in our constitution, isn't it? The right and duty to vote. That's Article 48 of the Constitution. You've got access to public services. That's in the titolo etico e sociale, reporti etico e sociali, in the Constitution, and housing and subsidies, and moving freely in Italy. That's in Article 16 of the Constitution, and paying our taxes, which is, I think, Article 52 of the Constitution. So we've got all these different rights and duties, which our citizenship means we assume that. We assume the responsibility and earn the rights as citizens. Foreigners haven't got the right to move freely within Italy. They don't have the duty, for example, to defend la patria or to access public services, have housing. They haven't got the right to work or vote. So these are what our citizenship gives us. And the sense of belonging. This part is very important for people. It's not enough just to have this legal status. We're not a citizen once we're told we're a citizen by the law, we're classed, we are, but really we need that sense of belonging, we need that identity. We've got to have, for example, if we haven't got the language, if you don't speak Italian or English, how can you feel a part? How can you feel a citizen? How can you work? How can you participate? How can you even vote if you can't even read the propaganda, political propaganda, or socialise? So you're not able to participate. Yes, you're legally a citizen with the rights and duties, but you don't feel a citizen with shared values and common destiny. You don't feel part of society. It really is a primeval need to be part of a tribe, to be part of a group. We need that. And to have that, we've got to be recognised legally as being part of that group, but also we've got to really understand each other, understand how each other feels, and share the same values like democracy and human rights and culture, in Italy, history, this, and the feeling of common destiny, that we really depend on each other to go forwards, progress economically and in other ways, socially. We feel protected as being part of a society. And that's, a really deep need within us. So, to belong, you've got to know what Italians value. We've got to understand, our constitution and understand who we are as Italians and how we're different. We are different from Americans. Americans value their guns, whereas Italians repudiate la guerra. So we are different. And we've got to understand Italy's past and future direction. Where are we going? Where are we going? What's the objectives? We need to learn that. And we've got to understand the past. Where did we come from? Then we feel part of something. We share a history. And then we've got to be active socially, economically and politically. So we've got to be part of this political discourse and discussion, and then have a social life and work together and then we feel part of a community. We belong, and we can feel a citizen. We also belong to wider communities. So Italy is a community, but it's part of the European Union, which is also a bigger community, a global community. And then the world is globalizing, becoming interconnected. We're really part of something even bigger. The European Union is part of the international community. There's this feeling of global citizenship where our values are peace, solidarity, sustainability, human rights, these types of things. They are universal, and we're having to cooperate and collaborate together as one human community to resolve global problems like climate change, immigration, all these problems with wars and recession maybe, because we're so interconnected and interdependent. If Greece goes wrong, we go wrong. We really are tied to each other's destiny now. We're not independent anymore, so that means that we really need to think of ourselves as global citizens, not just Italian citizens or European citizens. Now, what is the risk of not having this shared citizenship? Without a shared citizenship, you will get division. If we don't value the same things, we don't value democracy, and America is seeing this a little bit. There's a big division in America, and it can end up with deep social conflicts. So without a shared citizenship, we'll end up in wars and social conflicts and all pulling apart, not pulling together. We won't be able to resolve the big problems like climate change. But with a sense of shared citizenship, so we share values, we're all working together towards something, we're collaborating towards peace and prosperity, we've got these universal values. That's the opportunity of citizenship, of becoming a community. Remember, citizenship and community go together. By creating this citizenship, we are creating a community, and we need to create communities. Even if we create a community that's not got good values, we will soon learn that they don't work. If we create a community that's very dictatorial, it won't last. There's always a revolution eventually. We all came from dictatorships, and eventually people did rise up and demand they are respected and participating in a shared life and not just doing as they're told. How did we become citizens? Well, the nation building always comes through struggles. We built strong bonds, and the strong bonds often were built, constructed in difficult times, like resisting. Maybe we create a culture, a way of living, a way of a language, a religion, an attitude. But we're separated from other cultures by the mountains maybe, or the seas, or for some other reason. and they create something different, and that means, there will be competition, and they will want to dominate us, and we will want to dominate them. And through that domination, through that struggle and that resistance against outsiders, we create strong bonds together. So a lot of our nation building was really resistance against outsiders and learning, coming together with shared languages and religions and ways of life, and then having to resist diversity. That created us. Overcoming tyrants and revolutions creates strong bonds. Any sacrifice creates a really, really close community because people have given their lives for the others. And it's quite sacred, if you like. They've sacrificed themselves for their community. And that has created this feeling of debt, to each other. So, and then there's shared challenges like famines, disease, conflict. Just the challenge of nature brings us together because we are very weak alone. We are not strong. We are pathetic animals, very slow, very weak, very clumsy. Together, we are incredibly strong. The top of the species, of all species. We control the world, but only together. Unity is forged in sacrifice. Okay, so that strength of community has normally been forged by people sacrificing for others. Italy had to resist the French, the Spanish and the Austrian, and this brought Italy a feeling of being strong together. There was this strong risorgimento, unification. So that helped Italy develop a community. And then especially the anti-fascism identity was created, at a cost of all the people that died in the Second World War, resisting the fascists. That created this anti-fascist identity, which led to a democratic constitution and very progressive community. Right, I've said before, community matters because human beings are a bit pathetic on their own. We are not we have not many strengths alone, but together, and the more we connect and collaborate, the more synergy we have, and the more we can really take control, not just be top of the ranking in the species, but also control the world. We have nature in our hands. If we act together, we can become the eyes and ears of the world, work to benefit the world. But if we don't come together, we divide, we will in effect have problems and wars and be at the mercy of big, things bigger than us, like global warming, nature, just itself. Um, Community really matters because, and the bonds of citizenship really matters because they do create empathy, care, and trust. We do understand the other if we share the other's identity, reality. If we go through the same things as the other, the same experiences, we nurture this empathy and care, build trust, and then we can, really pull in the right direction, in the same direction, I should say. We're all pulling in the same direction. We can solve global problems. First, we're going to pull together as a country and solve Italy's problems and Europe's, and obviously, ultimately, the people of the world have got common problems and need to all join together somehow to create a kind of peaceful push towards resolving living together, problems with living together. Um, Social capital is fundamental. Social capital, we really mean this level of empathy, care, and trust between people. Um, and it's really fundamental economically, politically, socially, in many, many respects. Psychologically, um, social capital is fundamental. Uh, Probably the deepest need in us is to have a sense of belonging, the sense of companionship as a group.